Hello, my name is Roger Berkowitz, and I'm the Academic Director and Founder of the Hannah Arendt Center here at Bard College. And today I'm with Celso Lafer, who is a renowned Arendt scholar and former student of Hannah Arendt. Also was the two-time Foreign Minister and Commerce Minister of Brazil, where he's from. Welcome.
Thank you, Roger.
It's a pleasure
to be with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Why don't you begin by telling us when you first read Hannah Arendt and when you first met her, how you met her?
Well, I met her as her student. She was a visiting professor at Cornell when I went to Cornell to do my graduate studies in political science. And she offered a course on political experiences of the 20th century. And I enrolled in the course, and I was, of course, extremely impressed by the intellectual presence and the stimulating experience of having been her student. Now, I had previously read, not carefully, but enough, of the origins of totalitarianism. I was certainly more than anything interested in the third part of the book on totalitarianism and how do you define totalitarianism as a specific type of regime that did not fit into the classical typology of political regimes.
Great. So the course you took with her was called The Political Experience of the 20th Century?
Yes, yes.
What does that mean, political experience of the 20th century for her?
Well, as you know, she insists that living in an age where tradition does not operate, experience is the only guidepost to which we should take bearing. And the idea of this course was to develop an imaginary biography of someone that was born in the end of the 19th century and lived throughout the significant political experiences of the first half of the 20th century. The First World War, the Russian Revolution, the atmosphere of the 20s, the Spanish Civil War, Nazi ascension, Stalinism, Nazism, concentration camps, the Holocaust, the discovery of atomic energy, and the idea she developed in this course was to think of someone who was not a great political actor, but was not a passive figure, reacted to this different types of experience. And the course was an exercise in imagination. And it was based on classical books, of course, of political theory and political history, but also on novels, on poetry, on pictures. The idea was to think through all these elements, what was relevant to conceive this type of experience.
Can you say a little bit more about how she pushed you on this idea of imagination? Did she talk a lot about imagination in the class?
No, she didn't talk too much about imagination in the course, but she said, we are going to deal with an experience that is not yours, partly our mine, but certainly to do this type of exercise, you have to have an exercise in imagination. And she said, you know, I'm going to use documents, I'm going to use novels, and I'm going to use the books that we are going to discuss. And the idea is to see how they are capable of explaining to you who have not had this type of experience what this experience really meant. No, so you wanted to discuss, shall we say, the atmosphere of the First World War. Junger's book, Storms of Steel, would give you an idea of the new technological dimension and the destructiveness that came with it. This was read together with Aron's book, Les Guerres Enchaînées, and the technical surprise of a different type of war. And then, of course, it dealt also with the movement in the arts, expressionism, and what it meant. It dealt also with novels such as Faulkner's A Fable. And so she went on and on.
And you read Hannah Arendt book,
Yes, yes.
Unknown Germany,
The Unknown Germany.
about the letters from the front.
Yes, that's it.
And so all of this together was supposed to give you a sense of what it meant to
Yes.
be alive.
Yes, I mean, she mentions in the discussion of judgment that you must go visiting, no?
Yes.
So this was sort of an opportunity to go visiting.
Have you ever taught a course like this? Have you ever tried to take a course like this and teach it yourself?
No, I have never dared do a course like that. But of course I have mentioned this course during many of my courses, and I think I learned with her to give courses, especially graduate courses, of a more open-ended and open-minded perspective, so that people would be able to learn how to think. Because I think what she basically taught us was think. You must think, and you must be able to deal with things which are new. So that's what I try to do. I'll give you an example. After I finished my period as foreign minister, I was to give a course in the Institute of International Relations of the University of São Paulo. And my colleague who helped me in this course, who had been my student, he said, "Well, don't give a course as the one you have given before, which I took, about theories of international relations. Why don't you give a course telling us what was useful in your experience as a foreign minister, the theories that were helpful to you, and what was not helpful. And then we can try and think out loud why this was more productive than other things." And I think it was. I think, as you mentioned, of course, having been her student, what she thought was always in the back of my mind.
Yes.
And on the back of my mind were many things which were extremely helpful in my public life. I think I'm probably one of the few students of Hannah Arendt who also had a relevant vita activa, and that sort of blend was relevant for me in dealing with many things. I will give you the most obvious example. We all know that she never wrote, but the issue of judgment was a critical issue in her thought. In fact, I think most of her work are political exercises in judgment.
Yes.
How you judge violence, how you judge the revolution, how you judge civil disobedience. And I think that the idea that you have to think in particular without having a universal to what you can subsume it is of the essence of diplomacy and political relations. So I think this type of reflective judgment is very important. Obviously, precedent and analogies with precedent are useful, and obviously things do not operate only on the basis of generalities, but you must have a general background. She says that the thinking process is related to the capacity to distinguish,
Yes.
not to operate on the basis of association. Now, if you are thinking issues of foreign policy, it's not with associations that you should operate. You should operate with the capacity to differentiate and distinguish.
Were you ever in a meeting with another foreign minister or world leader and said, at least think to yourself, I wish I could read some Hannah Arendt with this person. Did you ever, is it thinking like, I just need to bring some of these people up to speed with what I'm doing?
Well, President Cardoso, whom I served, who is himself a very distinguished intellectual, he pricked me once in a while,
What would Hannah Arendt have said?
What would she say?
So he was interested.
He was interested, and he's knowledgeable. The fact is that September 11, I was giving a conference in São Paulo on issues of integration and European integration and Brazilian integration, and I was giving a press conference, and my collaborator stopped me and said, and I said, well, are you trying to censor me? I want to say what I want to say about this issue. It was a polemical issue. He said, I don't want to stop you. I want to say to you, stop speaking, because something very complicated has just happened in the United States, and you might as well be aware of it before somebody asks you and you make a blank face.
Right.
So I stopped. And then I went to see what had happened. And on the spot afterwards, I developed a quick reflection on the issues of violence, on the capacity of violence to destruct, not to create power, that was destroy power of the United States, but was not creating power. What are the reasons that lead to power, and so on and so forth. And that was on the spot. It was, I think, reasonably well done. So,
sounds like it.
After I had finished, and I was in São Paulo and returned to Brasilia, and out of a very difficult and challenging question. So this is part of what the experience of having been her student helped me.
So one last question. If you had to say in the end or in the beginning, what has Hannah Arendt meant to you, or why she matters? How would you frame it?
Well, I will frame it in the following way. Calvino says that a classical author is someone who never stops saying what it has, or he or she has to say. So if I think of Hannah Arendt as a classic, I know and I'm sure that she never stops saying things that are interesting. And I will take this classical dimension on another perspective, the one offered by Bobbio. Bobbio said that there are three characteristics of classic. A classic is an author that is an important interpreter of his time. I think she's certainly an important interpreter of the 20th century. An author is a classic if there is a continuous reading and rereading of her work, as if several generations tend to look at her work and see if they answer the questions with which they are concerned. I think she's also a classic in this sense. Yes. And in the last sense, as Bobby would say, a classic is an author that offers you concepts, ideas, paths, categories that help you deal with the day-to-day reality you are now facing, even if these concepts were conceived previously. So I think what she said and what she has written helps us in this sense. So that's why I think she is a paradigm of a classic writer.
Thank you very much, Celso. This was very interesting, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here and to be with you, and pleasure to be at the Hannah Arendt Center at Barn.
Likewise.
And the work you are all doing, that is always very stimulating and in line with what I think she would like to have to be doing, to have been developed, that is developed.
Well, that means a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.